Hello, everyone. I am Matt Williamson. Happy almost New Year. I hope everyone's doing well. This will be my last podcast before Steelers-Seahawks, so let's just dig right into when Seattle has the ball. They're averaging 5.4 yards per play, 5.2 over their last three games. Steelers, not going to coincidentally allow 5.4 for the year, but 5.8 over the last three. Not good enough. And they're 5.5 at home for Seattle. They are a better home team than road team. It's a very tough place to play. Only 6 defenses allow fewer points per game than Pittsburgh's, and only 7 defenses are better in success rate. I don't think people realize that. I mean, 6 defenses are better than the Steelers in points per game for the season. Seattle throws the ball just under 62% of the time. That's 6th highest percentage. But over the past 3 games, they're all the way up to 63. They've been throwing it a lot, but also late in games as they come back. Only 2 defenses have faced 11 personnel on a lower percentage of their snaps than Pittsburgh. Only 1 defense is in their nickel package with 5 defensive backs at a lower rate than the Steelers as well. Again, I talk about this every week, but they need a better nickel package. I mean, they're either big or they're small, you know. After last week, Geno Smith now has 4 game-winning drives. That's the most in the league. He threw for 227 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half again in Tennessee. And the Seahawks scored on their 3 second-half drives. Smith has thrown multiple touchdown passes in 5 of his last 8 games, after doing so once through 5 games, and aims for his 3rd game in a row with 2 or more touchdown passes. So playing well. Seattle is the only team in the league with 3 wide receivers with 50-plus catches. From a yards per route run perspective, DK Metcalf's at 2.25, really good. Tyler Lockett's at 1.73. Jackson Smith-Njigba's at 1.5. Metcalf's 8 touchdown receptions is only behind Tyreek, Mike Evans, and Cortland Sutton amongst wide receivers, and he is 8th in end zone targets with 14. Metcalf has 43 receiving touchdowns since 2019, the 4th most in the NFL over that time. Only Calvin Ridley averages fewer yards after first contact than Lockett per reception amongst wide receivers with 50 targets. Lockett has 19 targets over his past 2 games and a season-high 11 last week. This is his 4th season with 75-plus catches, but Lockett hasn't scored in 6 straight games. It's not apples to apples, but Lockett's kind of the Deontay, Metcalf's kind of the Pickens. Of all wide receivers that have run at least 50 routes, Smith-Njigba's 6.5 average depth of target is 3rd lowest in the league, and his average yards per reception is 8th lowest. He is 8th in the NFL in average yards after the catch per reception, so he's getting short targets, but he's making a lot out of them. He runs 67% of his routes out of the slot, and Pittsburgh allows a league high 10 flat yards per target to slot receivers. Slot corner is a huge problem for the Steelers. Seahawks tight ends Noah Fant, Colby Parkinson, and Will Dissly have all played between 337 and 540 snaps this season. Only one offense utilizes 13 personnel, a higher percentage of their snaps than Seattle. While the Steelers have faced 13 personnel on 5.3% of their snaps, the 2nd highest rate for any defense. Those teams are attacking the Steelers out of 13, 3 tight ends, and Seattle loves using 13. Noah Fant's starting to kind of separate a little bit from this group, though. He did have a season-high 70% route participation last week. The Steelers defense is allowing the NFL's 6th best completion percentage, but are facing the 6th highest average depth of target. So some of this TJ Watt stuff's bonkers. He set the franchise record in 2021, as you remember, with 22.5 sacks. But after getting a sack last week, his 17 sacks is 2nd most in franchise history. He's also forced 4 fumbles this season and has recovered 3. Both lead the team. He has at least half a sack in 8 of his last 9 games. The last time Watt faced Seattle, he had 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and 3 pass defenses. In terms of quarterback hits this season, Watt leads the team with 33, followed by Highsmith with 17. No other Steelers defender has more than 7. His 33 quarterback hits leads the NFL. No other Steelers defender has more than 7. His quarterback hits. This is bonkers. This is Watt's second season with 30-plus quarterback hits and 8 or more pass defenses. TJ and his brother JJ, who did it 3 times, are the only players in history to ever do it at all. JJ did it 3 times. TJ did it twice. No one else has ever done it ever. That's bonkers. Watt also leads the team with 16 tackles for loss, followed by Landon Roberts with 10 and Highsmith with 8. So folks, I've told you a lot about our friends at Bet Online. With NFL, bowl season, and NBA in full swing over the holidays, Bet Online isn't taking a second off. They want to make sure you have all the up-to-the-second, up-to-the-minute odds, news, information. Bet Online has all the sports wagering info available you need for both your desktop and mobile, which is super easy. Head there today and get into the action. Remember, though, to use our promo code BLEAV, all caps, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Let's talk run game. Steelers gave up just 59 yards on the ground last week, and Seattle could only muster 58 yards rushing, 54 of it by Kenneth Walker III. Walker and Zach Charbonnet have combined for just over 1,200 of Seattle's 1,354 rushing yards. 3.2% of Seattle's carries have gone for 20 or more yards. Only 3 offenses are better. Only the Bengals, Raiders, and Bucks average fewer rushing yards per game than Seattle, and only 6 defenses allow more yards per carry. During the first 7 weeks of the year, Walker received 75% of the Seahawks rushing attempts. But from weeks 8 through 14, he just got a 49% rush share. He was dealing with some injuries. But these past 2 games, he's getting at least 79% rush share. Last week, he was just over 80. It was up to 81%. His 9.36 yards per reception is the 4th highest among running backs with at least 25 targets. And his yards after contact per reception is the best in the league. But Walker's only caught 25 passes this season. He's not a real developed route runner, but you get him in space, look out. Walker has now eclipsed 1,000 scrimmage yards in both his NFL seasons. He has 110 scrimmage yards in 4 of his last 5 home games. Only 3 defenses have given up fewer rushing touchdowns than the Steelers, just 8. However, before allowing 74 total yards to Cincinnati's running backs last week, Pittsburgh gave up 200 to the Colts backfield, 140 to Zeke Elliott, and 130 to Arizona's backfield. Seahawks have 10 different offensive linemen this year that have logged over 100 snaps, 9 that have played 215 or more, 6 of whom have played 414 or more. Just been a total revolving door at their offensive line, all across their offensive line. Seattle has scored 24 points in fourth quarters of games over the past 2 weeks, but just 16 points in the first 3 quarters of those 2 games. So I do expect some points in this game. I think the Steelers can run the ball. Their advantages in this game are certainly their run game against a bad run defense on the road and a nasty environment, their D-line against a shuffled up O-line, as we mentioned. Some things in the margins like penalties favor the Steelers. But I have Seattle in this game 27-23. I looked at, rewatching last week's game. It was wonderful. Steelers won, all that great. But I think if Burrow and Chase play in that game, they rip apart the back 7 of the Steelers. And Geno's not Burrow, but he's an established, strong NFL quarterback with 3 really good receivers, a decent group of tight ends, a good group of backs. I think the back 7 of the Steelers is just in for an incredibly long day, to be very honest with you, in a very difficult place to play. So I have Seattle win this game. There are avenues for me being wrong, though. So take care. Over and out. We'll talk after the game.